things. Again, we're on Rumble, and this is real good. We actually live stream and we record all of our meetings. And this meeting, I think, is going to be one that there's people that may not be able to be here, but have them go to the Rumble channel and they can watch it later and all this. So it'd be good for him to, good for people to understand what Chief Edwards has to say. So again, so go to our Rumble channel, follow us on that and all those good things. Again, this year, this July 4th, is the 250th anniversary of signing the Declaration of Independence. And this whole year has been a America 250 celebration. And in support of that, Stand Up for Idaho and KID 106.3, Jolene Thomas, her show and everything, is supporting the America 250 effort by doing a commercial, and then every Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock, some of the ladies from Stand Up for Idaho go and get on Jolene Thomas's show and talk about what happened roughly 250 years ago today. And, I'll continue to say it, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for what happened 250 years ago. And we need to be very appreciative of it, and we need to understand what our history is so that we don't forget. Okay, and so that we continue to protect what we have. To help celebrate America 250 and to help support Stand Up for Idaho, we had this flag made. It's a wood, it's a custom card flag and all that. We're raffling this off, and we will actually draw the raffle right about the 4th of July. And we're doing it to be able to raise some money for Stand Up for Idaho, plus have it decorate somebody's home or somebody's office. We really think it's pretty awesome. So if you're interested in buying a raffle ticket, they're $20. You can buy one or 50 or 1,000. I don't care. We can do whatever we can. So I appreciate that. Over the last several weeks, there's been a thing called an Article 5 convention has been actually pushed through in our legislature. And one round actually passed the House, but didn't get past the Senate and stuff. And I am actually very much against the Article 5 convention. A lot of the reasons for that, but the good thing is at least for this year, the effort to have an article, or for Idaho to sign up for an Article 5, or to support an Article 5 convention, was defeated. I can guarantee it'll come up next year. And on that, I'm going to show one thing. Stand Up for Idaho is revamping our website. And this is what it looks like right now. You got to be patient. We're just getting things into place. But we're making it more of a news site rather than a stagnant site that just tells a little bit about us. What it is we're going to post various articles and all this on it and things that we think are important. And up here in the top left-hand corner on that ribbon, you can see Article 5. We have several people that have written articles opposing an Article 5 convention. We have some of those posted. You'd be able to click that Article 5, and it'll take you to all of them. We also have some people that are going to post some things in favor of an Article 5. So we'll post them too. And our effort there is to try to educate everybody. What does it mean? What does an Article 5 convention actually mean? And what are the risks with it or not? So we do what we can to educate people. And on this, what I'd say is if you have an interest in writing an article, if you have a topic that you want to write on or whatever like that, let us know, and we'll likely publish it. All I say is this is no name calling, okay? The facts. We're here to try to figure out through the smoke. There's a lot of smoke being generated, and we need to figure out what's really reality behind there. And so that's what we request is no name calling, just the facts and those type of things. We all know what that means. So go check out our new website. If you have any comments or whatnot, let me know, and we'll try to get them incorporated. Okay, real quick, next week, actually, the election season is here, campaign election season's here. This year we get to vote again for governor, lieutenant governor, all of our primary executives, if you will, of the state. Attorney general too. Some of them are running unopposed. Some of them do have opposition. And actually, next week we're going to have a gentleman. His name's Mark Fitzpatrick, and he is running for governor. Okay, and as a Republican for governor, and he will be here to tell us, a little bit about him. He's actually running. He's the owner of the Old State Saloon in Eagle, Idaho, and he's held a lot of things sort of like this in a different sort of a setup. From his website, he says this: Idaho was founded by pioneers who didn't ask permission to live free, and we shouldn't have to either. I'm running for governor to restore a government that serves the people, not political insiders. That means cutting taxes, shrinking bureaucracy, defending parental rights, deporting all illegal aliens, and putting Idaho families first. This state isn't for sale, and it's time that Idaho elects a governor who isn't either. So obviously, governor is a very important position in here. He's the chief executive officer, he or she, of Idaho, and it affects us. And so I would say, come and listen to Mark, and you'll have a chance to come up to the microphone and personally ask him the questions. And I invite everybody to come and do that, and be sure to ask him the tough questions, because it will affect you, I can guarantee that, whoever it is. Okay, well, you didn't come to listen to me tonight, but you came to listen to Nick Edwards. Nick is the chief investigator at the Idaho Falls Attorney General's Office for Internet Safety, and he's going to talk about internet safety and the trends they've been seeing across the state. Just real quick, he's a former Idaho Internet Crimes Against Children ICAC Task Force commander, and he's here in person. He actually came here today from Boise, and he's going to go back tonight to Boise. He came here just for this, so let's give him a hand for doing that. Okay, that's really good. Like I say, you didn't come here to listen to me. You came here to listen to him. So again, let's give him a big hand, and I'll turn it over to him. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you so much. Okay.
All right. Can you hear me okay? You want me up here, right? Okay. Can you guys hear me in the back? All right. I've got a slide deck here. We'll get that queued up. He's absolutely right. I did drive over from Boise. It wasn't a bad drive. The weather's pretty good. We're doing okay. So it'll be a great drive back as well. Like he said, my name is Nick Edwards. I am the chief investigator for the Idaho Attorney General. I'll use this. I am not a politician, but I work for one. I work for Raul Labrador, the current Attorney General. This is his task force. It's not my task force. It wasn't my task force when I was the commander. And as this chief investigator, still not my task force. By state statute, the task force belongs to him. And I believe we've done some great things when it comes to internet crimes against kids under his direction. So I'll give it, like I said, it is his task force. And we're going to talk about trends. I think a lot of people have seen recently, and I would say in the last 2 years, most of you have probably seen more and more press releases of people being arrested for internet crimes against kids. Is that true? Yep. Yeah, I think so too. And you're not wrong, and we'll talk about why. And I truly believe it's because we've done some great things in ICAC, and we are relentless in our pursuit to keep kids safe. We're not backing away from it, and it's a priority of the Attorney General. So I'll talk about how we get cases, where they come from, and then how we can keep kids safe online. And as parents and adults, what you can do to watch out for these things and be engaged. So the first thing, this has no audio, but East Idaho News did a story. Nate Eaton came out, filmed our team. This was actually here in the Idaho Falls area. Some of those cops that you see there are with either Bonneville County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho Falls Police Department, Madison County Sheriff's Office. And this was a whole thing that Nate Eaton did for us this last summer. And if you get a chance, it's on YouTube. It's about a 20-minute video he did, kind of an insider on ICAC. And it has a ton of views. Got us. I think this is pretty good. But like I said, if you get a chance to go jump online and watch this YouTube video, it's pretty good. You can just search in Internet Crimes Against Children, East Idaho News, Nate Eaton, and you'll find it. So he's more of a celebrity than I am, and I like Nate a lot. So a little bit about my background. I am an Idaho native. I actually grew up in the Boise Valley. My senior year in high school, my parents moved to Marsh Valley. Most of you probably know where that's at. And I spent 15 years working for the Pocatello Police Department up until 2019. Worked there for a long time, worked narcotics, worked a lot, from Bingham County to Bonneville County and all the way down to the Pocatello area. My wife is from Star Valley, Wyoming, which is pretty close here. And I say that because people here go, I know where Star Valley's at. In Boise, people are like, what are you talking about? But here they know where I'm talking about. In high school, I realized I wasn't very good at school, and so I joined the Idaho Army National Guard, which I'm still doing. I'm still serving in the Idaho Army National Guard. I'm currently assigned as the Command Sergeant Major over the Idaho Training Center, which is all of the tank and helicopter ranges that are south of town, out behind the prisons. There's a whole bunch of tank and helicopter ranges, and so I've been doing that as well. I've done a couple of different deployments through my career, leave the police department, leave the attorney general's office, go do a thing, and then come back. And then they've acted me to a couple of times to do the presidential inaugurations. I went both to the 59th and 60th presidential inaugurations to ensure that a peaceful transition of power occurred, where we deployed Idaho Guardsmen, both Army and Air, over to Washington, D.C., the inauguration took place, and then we came back. And so a lot of people also have soldiers or airmen that actually participated and went with us, and I was put in charge of taking those soldiers and airmen. So I've had some good experiences throughout my career. I have a master's degree in leadership, and I have 4 kids. One's studying at BYU, Provo. I have one on an LDS mission, and then I have 2 small kids still at home we're trying to turn into responsible young adults. So, and that in and of itself is a challenge. Okay, so when I went to the Attorney General's office, I'll start with this. I like to show this because I think it's important that people understand who we are. I think in law enforcement, a lot of times I want you to get to know who we are, and then we can have real open conversations about this. And why I do what I do, and why I think this is important. In 2019, I got hired at the Attorney General's office. I was placed into special investigations. In 2020, we do a number of different, in the criminal division of the Attorney General's office, they have ICAC, the Internet Crimes Against Kids. They also have special investigations. They have Medicaid fraud. They have Social Security fraud investigators. And I was initially assigned to special investigations, and we got a call from the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, or the Fremont County Prosecutor's Office a few years ago, and they said, hey, we need some help in an investigation where we have 2 kids that are missing, and a mother is the suspect. Many of you are probably familiar with the Lori Vallow Daybell case. Touched this side of the state quite a bit. And so I was actually assigned to Tammy Daybell's investigation initially. Tammy Daybell was assigned to me, her death. And so we started to investigate. I came over, we helped, we were here. And that investigation, most of you know that story and how that unfolded. In 2022, I got deployed overseas to the Middle East. And that was about the same time that Lori was getting ready to go to trial. And I'm telling you this story. I'll get there, I promise. I'll get to a point. And I was in the Middle East, and I got a phone call from the Fremont County prosecutor, and she said, Nick, we're going to trial on Lori, and I need you to come back and to testify. You'll be the last one to testify in Lori's case. And so I didn't tell my kids. I'd been gone for about 9 months, and I flew from the Middle East back to Boise, and didn't tell my kids I was coming home. So what you'll see here, if you'll go ahead and play this first video, this is me coming home. I did not tell my kids that I was coming home, and like I said, I have 4 kids, and this was the reunion. So it's a pretty cool experience, and so it's down. I think if the lower left, if you hover down, it will play. Maybe click in there somewhere. Yeah, there it is. What the frick, dude? My daughter was a junior in high school. This is in her high school. They called her down to the office. She thought she was in trouble. So this one's my youngest boy. I couldn't find him in the classroom. I had no idea which one was mine. I was like, You'll see me. I'm like, which one is he? Actually, the point is like, is that him right there? I'm not sure. They said, yeah, he's the one that looks just like you. I'm like, yeah, there he is. And this one gets you every time. This is my youngest daughter. Okay, so I come home from the deployment. I'm home for about 3 weeks, and I'm the last one to go on the stand. And keep in mind, I left my entire military unit back in the Middle East, right? Like, they're all back over there, and I got on the stand. And if you followed that trial at all, you know that cameras weren't allowed in for Lori's trial. And so they did sketches, right, of everybody that got on the stand. And so I did my thing, was on the stand, got done, and the media published my sketch, and that's what you got. I'm not sure what I'm doing with my hand. I have no idea. But that's the sketch that was published and went on. And what's wild about this is, like, within a few minutes of this thing going public, all of my soldiers that were in the Middle East started sending me memes. Stuff like this. That's my brother. They put him in my hand. They sent me stuff like this, hot sauce in my hand. Like, I have no idea. These guys, and then a host of other things that we won't share that they did with these memes. But these were out there for a long time. So that's a little bit about me. I came back from the deployment, and when I got back, we had a new attorney general. I was actually gone during the election, and so I didn't. I came back to a brand new boss. I was hired under Lawrence Wasden when I came back from the Middle East. Raul Labrador was the new attorney general, and he came to me and he said, "Hey, we need somebody to take over the ICAC unit, the Internet Crimes Against Children unit." In my experience, I didn't even know what ICAC was. I had worked narcotics. I had worked as a school resource officer. I had worked in patrol. I had worked in SWAT. I had done a whole bunch of training. I had no idea what ICAC was. And I actually kind of said, "No, I'm good. No, thanks." And he said, "Let me rephrase that. You're the new ICAC commander." And so I got put in charge of a task force. And so I very quickly realized, like, I had to figure out what this looks like. What is ICAC? Lost the slide. He'll work on it. And so if you're not from, I'll kind of break down what ICAC is, how we get cases, and what it looks like in Idaho. But Idaho is very unique. No other state is set up the way that we are. We're actually very blessed in the state of Idaho to have the resources that we have to protect kids. So this is what happens is, if someone is online, they're, by federal law, all of these providers, all of the social media sites and all of your internet providers, your Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, Google, Silver Star, any internet provider or social media site that you see right there, is required by federal law, if they know someone is on their platform using their service and is trying to download, upload, is in possession of child sexual abuse material, or what is commonly referred to as child pornography. So they're monitoring 24/7 to see what you're doing online. People ask all the time, are they watching what I'm doing online? The answer is yes, they absolutely are. And by federal law, they're required to report to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, often referred to as NCMEC. So all of these providers, all of these social media sites are reporting to NCMEC what people are doing if they believe someone's on their platform that is downloading, uploading, possessing child sexual abuse material. They also report if they believe someone is trying to entice a child. If somebody is texting or chatting with what they believe to be a minor and they're trying to entice that minor, they report it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So then the question is, what do they do with it? The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has 61 task forces across the country. We are one of 61. Does that make sense? So they try to figure out what task force has jurisdiction. Like, where did that take place? Where did that person that downloaded, uploaded, or is in possession of child sexual abuse material, where do they live? And they look at all of the task forces and they assign us cases. So these are all the task forces. You won't need to read all of those, but many of them are housed in the Attorney General's office by state statute. So Idaho is the clearinghouse for all of the Attorney General's office is the clearinghouse for all of the cyber tips that we get in Idaho. I'll stop right now. You say when, I'll stop. Yeah. Perfect. while he's on break, there's a bunch of swag I brought back there. There's some water bottles and like some little bouncy balls and some pens that are life-changing. They have a fidget spinner on the top. Please take that stuff. I don't want to take it home. I don't want to drive it back to Boise and put it away. So please take it. It's back there for you. If you have kids or grandkids or somebody that wants that stuff, go grab it. It's all yours. Yeah. We're good? Okay. That's a good question. I'll answer it, I promise. Yeah, we'll get through it. Yeah, it is. I'll get to it. Yeah, we'll we'll cover that for sure. And if I don't, remind me, but I'll cover it. Okay. All right, we'll jump back in. You say we're good to go? Keep going? All right. Perfect. Yeah, I hear that all the time. Yeah, that's true. That's about as good as it's going to get. It's not going to get much better. Okay, so the clearinghouse is the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. Maybe next slide. Can you go to next slide? We're the clearinghouse. The Attorney General's office is the clearinghouse for all of these cyber tips that come in. Most of them across the country are based out of the AG's offices. And then what we do in the AG's office is we have to figure out where in Idaho did it take place. Did it take place in Idaho Falls? Did it take place in Coeur d'Alene? Did it take place in Boise or Salmon or Moscow? So we've got to figure out where it took place by jurisdiction. So if we go to next slide, this is how we are set up currently. So again, in Idaho, we have 12 full-time investigators across the state that work ICAC cases full-time, meaning they work for their normal police department or their sheriff's office, but the Attorney General's office actually pays the salary and the benefits to the officers that work these cases for us. And you can see on this list, in this side of the state, I'll read all of them, but we have Corey Payne with the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office. He works for Bonneville County, but we pay a salary. I say we, the Attorney General's office does. And he works ICAC cases full-time. You have Irina Leach with the Pocatello Police Department, Jim Bohr with the Meridian Police Department, Scott Donald with the Canyon County Sheriff's Office, Sam Kuho with the Rupert Police Department, Jared Mendenhall with the Idaho Falls Police Department. Jared's the one that has the canine. You've seen the black lab that goes around. So he's got a canine. That's an ESD canine. It's electronic storage detection canine. We can talk about that as well in a little bit. And then you have down this other line, we have Ted Nee with the Boise Police Department, Amy Nisley with the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, Jeremy McMillan, Post Falls Police Department, Lawrence Mallory with the Moscow Police Department, Curtis Carper with the Nampa Police Department, and then we have an Ada County affiliate as well. We also have, so those are the what we call the full-time affiliates. Those are the guys and gals that are working this stuff full-time. That's all they do. We have a whole bunch of other investigators and cops, approximately 200 across the state that work these cases for us when we need them to. We don't pay their salary, but they work these cases. Guys like Christian Teague, he's a detective with Madison County Sheriff's Office. Fantastic detective, one of the best in the state, and works these cases for us. But again, then the new ICAC commander is Lauren Lane. She also has an electronic storage detection canine. If you get a chance, the dog that she has, the dog's name is Badger. He's got his own social media sites, and he is super bougie. It's crazy. He posts stuff all the time. So we and it's great. He has a little QR code on his dog vest. The kids, when we go into schools, they scan the QR code and follow him on all the social media sites. It's pretty awesome. So there's a couple pictures in here of Badger. And Artis and Badger look a lot alike, except Artis is quite a bit fatter. I mean, he's a big fat dog. So, and then we have attorneys on the sides over there that are full-time attorneys that work these cases. We have investigators that work strictly forensic investigators, guys that know how to jump on the computer and find this stuff, and then analysts and education specialists. So That's pretty much the team across the state of Idaho. That's what the team looks like. We have a bunch of guys that do it part-time, guys and gals that do it part-time. We have a whole team that does it full-time, all under the direction of the commander under the AG's office. So that's how we're set up. Now, what happens? NCMEC, the National Center for Missing Exploited Children, we call those cyber tips. Something that they get that says, hey, we believe somebody's online doing a thing. We call that a cyber tip, and we get those quite often. Last year, we got 6,100 cyber tips. Basically, 6,100 cases where the National Center for Missing Exploited Children said somebody in Idaho is downloading, possessing, manufacturing, distributing child sexual abuse material. We ended with 6,100. You can see the red over there. 6,100 cyber tips is where we ended the year. The year before that, in 2024, it was 3,528. That's what we had. We had almost a double last year. It's wild what happened. But you can see this has been a steady incline from 2020. We started with 1,300. Then we kind of climbed. And then I took over as the ICAC commander at the end of 2023. And last year, we just shot up. So that's part in why you're seeing more cases. 6,100 cyber tips came in last year. The other thing that's important to note is this task force is not new. This has been going on. We've had this task force in Idaho legislature since 2008. Now, not to the extent that it is now, but the task force is not a brand new idea. We've had it for a while. We've had different commanders, and I will tell you that in about 2 years ago when I took over, there was a backlog of cyber tips. So we had approximately 2,000 cyber tips that were just not being worked. For whatever reason. So that's over, in some years, like over all the cases we got total. Does that make sense? So the first thing we did when I took over is we got 2 full-time analysts, 2 ladies, that look at every single cyber tip that comes in from the National Center. They look at every piece of content, video, meme, image, whatever it is, chat. They look at all of it. There's 2 of them. I believe they are doing God's work. Like, they are saints. These 2 ladies are phenomenal at what they do, but they look at every single piece of content that comes through. Now, not everything that comes through is what we would consider a workable case, right? And so they triage it, and a little over, I'd say over half of what we get gets closed for whatever reason and doesn't actually make it to an investigator. Does that make sense? There's things that they close that are like, that's a meme, or this is where this conversation gets a little bit sensitive. Some of the stuff we get is what we call age difficult. They can't tell if that's a 16-year-old girl or if that's an 18-year-old girl, and they close it. And so some of the stuff just doesn't make it through for whatever reason. The stuff that's obvious, that's clear, we move that forward to an investigator. They investigate, and ultimately when they charge, we prosecute. So we have full-time analysts. We no longer have a backlog. These 2 ladies do all of that work, and we've not had a backlog since the beginning of 2024. So even with the tripled number of cyber tips, we continue to stay on top of it and get through them. On average, we get about 17 a day is what we get in Idaho. I ran the numbers yesterday. So far this year, up until yesterday, I literally pulled the numbers yesterday before I came, as I was putting this together. We've had 1,187 cyber tips since January 1st. So that'll put us on track to probably finish right around 6,200, 6,300 cyber tips by the end of the year. What's weird about this is we were going to end the year at like 5,100, and for some reason in January, I don't know what it was, but in January we got dumped 1,000 cyber tips right at the end of the year from the National Center. So I thought it was kind of an anomaly. It wasn't. I mean, we spiked right at the end of January. Right at the end of December, and so our number jumped. What I thought was going to be about 5,100 cyber tips, and it was 61. Questions on the cyber tips before I move on? Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, and I'll repeat the question or if you want to use the microphone. Yeah, the question was, as they review the cyber tips, if they keep a record of why we rejected it. Yes, we're constantly in communication with the National Center for Missing Exploited Children as to like the feedback. Like, you're sending us this, but it doesn't meet the threshold for something that we would do, and we close the case. Does that make sense? So yeah, there's constant, and this is ever changing as well. Idaho gets 60. We got 6,100 cyber tips. I'll put this into context. Last year, Utah got I think they finished their year with about 12,000 cyber tips. North Carolina last year had 25,000 cyber tips. So we get 6,100 cyber tips in the state of Idaho. I met with the commanders. We meet 3 times a year. We talk to the other commanders in the other states. The commander for the Utah ICAC is a good friend of mine. He's talking about the great work they're doing in Utah, but their problem is not our problem, but they're similar. They just have a lot more of it. So they give you an idea, but we're constantly giving that feedback back to the National Center. NECMEC actually uses a lot of AI to go through the cyber tips. That was probably your next question. They use AI, which is also a reason AI is not completely accurate. So stuff gets through. It does require our full-time analyst, an actual human, to look at it and go yes or no. Does that make sense? Absolutely. That's a great point, and we're constantly looking at those, especially because we're technology based, right? So how can we use AI to help us do this and not kill the mental health of 2 ladies that are doing this every day, right? That's a challenge in and of itself, because how do we bring a tech company in and expose them to this stuff, right? That's a challenge. Got to figure that one out, because you can't just give the stuff to anybody. Yeah, very controlled law enforcement, proactive stuff. Okay, so any other questions on the cyber tips? Okay, this is the problem with the new age, right? This is what's happening. I say problem. When we're all digital, when we're doing these things, these are some of the challenges that we face in our society. Cyberbullying, sexual exploitation, sextortion. We'll talk about sextortion. A lot of people go, I don't have any clue what sextortion is. That's a rising trend that we're seeing every day. Enticement, and then we have these tactics of catfishing and blackmail. Blackmail's similar to that of sextortion. Catfishing is posing as somebody that you're not online. But these are all problems that occur. And so when they cross the line of crimes against kids online, we're it. It's the ICAC unit. So in Idaho, if you had to guess, who do you believe, or what platform of these platforms do you think is the number one reporter that we get in Idaho? Do you know what all these are? Instagram, some of it. I see that she definitely knows, I can tell. She's young enough. She's like, I know every one of those platforms. Yeah. It's the younger generation that sees all this. Yep, I know all of this. She probably is like, I don't know what LinkedIn is, but yeah. Which one? Snapchat. So it's funny. We watch these very closely. Snapchat for a long time was the leader. Snapchat, in my personal and professional opinion, is the sewer of social media sites. It is I think that's a tough one. But I will tell you, the one that we see the most of, what were you going to, yeah, TikTok, that's a good guess. Yep, that's close. All of those are number 1s and 2s. They have been anyway. Today, it's Instagram. Instagram is the number 1 reporter. So also known as Meta, right? Meta owns Facebook and Instagram, but most of what we get comes from Instagram. Question. How accurate are they in reporting? I love this question. Love this question. How accurate are they reporting? It's interesting to me. Last week, I actually went to Santa Fe and sat with the New Mexico ICAC, and they had the big tech companies that were present. And yes, there's companies like Meta that tout that they are the number 1 reporter in the world. And they are. They report more than anybody. Facebook and Instagram report more than anybody. But the question is, how good are these cyber tips that they're actually reporting to us, right? A lot of them get closed for whatever reason. Some are better than others. We've found that some platforms do a great job of actually reporting and giving us good, workable cyber tips. So it varies. I'm being totally honest.
They may tell you they're reporting all of it, but they may be only reporting a portion of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have to kind of figure out.
Absolutely.
Are you dumping all kinds on me and I have to sift through because you're only 60% accurate and somebody else may be reporting and they're 98% accurate, but maybe that's because they're only reporting half of the events.
Yeah. No, I see your question now. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. What they're actually reporting, I know there's some federal penalties to them if they don't report everything, but we take what we get. Yep. So last year, 1,200 cyber tips from Instagram alone is where we ended. So then how do these result in Idaho? What happens? So these are our numbers of arrests from 2022 to 2025. You can obviously see the spike in a number of arrests. Last year, we ended the year with 135 arrests. The other thing to keep in mind is not every one of those 6,100 cyber tips that came through were individual people. Many of them, we got cyber tips that were reported again and again and again on the same person. So they generated multiple cyber tips that came through to our office. Does that make sense? So, one suspect arrested could have been associated with 10 to 15 cyber tips that we got into our office. Incredible work that they're doing, right? And this is 135 arrests across the state. These cases are lengthy. They're difficult oftentimes to prove. And so we have a host of things that that we use to solve these. And we're on track this year so far. We've made 18 arrests statewide on cases like this. And these are, no kidding, internet crimes against kids when we're manufacturing, possessing, and distributing. This is not hands-on offenses that we're counting, right? So if a suspect had, no kidding, a live child victim, these wouldn't be or charged with a hands-on offense. They wouldn't be included in these numbers. These are ICAC arrests only. So the team, what we're doing across the state, and this also speaks to why you're seeing the increase across the state of Idaho. It's not just here. I can assure you that all of these arrests are going up because we're doing things differently than we used to do things. We got through the backlog. We're doing proactive enforcement, right? We have done proactive law enforcement operations where our investigators are posing as, 13-year-old girls online, and they will have people show up, usually men, always men, that show up thinking they're going to engage in sexual activity with a child, and no one is more surprised than them when they find out it's a cop. And so we've done those across the state. We're successful every time we do them. We did 3 last year. At each one of them, we had men that showed up thinking they were engaging in sexual activity with a child, and in fact, it was a police officer. Advanced technology and forensics, we're always updating this. We have to stay ahead of it. We do it all the time. We invest a lot of money into it. We're constantly trying to keep on top of this stuff because this changes about as fast as new technology comes out. As you all know, you're getting updates on your cell phones all the time. This stuff changes quick. So we try to keep our forensic investigators and our frontline investigators up to date on technology. Community outreach and public education. This thing right now, what I'm doing, is what we want to continue to do. We get into the schools when we can. We're getting out in the community. We're just handing swag out. We're trying to tell people these are where the resources are because we've got the ultimate goal is to keep kids safe, especially when they're online. Law enforcement training and support. We're going through the different departments. Today we did an actual training down in the Twin Falls area. We had investigators teaching other cops how to be investigators at Twin Falls Police Department. So we've partnered with our law enforcement partners across the state. Reporting, victim assistance. We have a full-time victim advocate in our office as well, who our victim advocates that are here tonight know. Legislative action. We're constantly right there, right? We've got a couple of bills that we're running this year to correct a few things. Last year, it went into effect. The new AI law went into effect, and I'll talk about the AI law here in just a second. Multi-agency federal partners. We have great relationships with our federal agencies and our state agencies. The Idaho Falls Police Department, great partner. I've met with Chief Johnson multiple times. He's a fantastic chief of police. Same with Pocatello Police. The chiefs on this side of the state and across the state, honestly, they're fantastic. And our sheriffs, super supportive of ICAC. All of them want to help. And so it takes definitely a team effort. I'll give you a quick year in review. Again, this is why I think all of these collectively, or why people are saying what's happening in Idaho. I think it's because we're doing a pretty good job at what we've been hired to do. Lots of training. Just a couple of pictures. These are just training and conferences that we sent people to. That picture on the far right, that is Badger, the ESD K9. This is at a YMCA event with small kids, teaching them how to be online, be safe online. We give coloring books out, all sorts of stuff. And then obviously we keep our law enforcement skills sharp. They're all sworn law enforcement officers. We have to comply with posts, so we're training. Training and conferences across the state. The far picture on the far right, I think this is an interesting one. And I'll come back to sextortion in just a minute. But the two ladies with Chris Harden, who is one of our forensic investigators, the lady on the left there, she has a son that his name was Ryan Last, and they lived in California. Ryan was sextorted as a teenager when he was a senior in high school, and ultimately committed suicide as a result of the sextortion event. And his mother came out and told his story. They ultimately made an arrest on a sextortion case, which is very uncommon. They're very difficult cases to work on. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But very profound story that she has. We heard her story, and she talked about her son Ryan. If you get a chance to kind of get it, there's a couple of videos out there you can find and find the story of Ryan last. Super compelling. We're doing this in churches. We're doing this in events like this, where schools. You'll see other pictures where we're in gymnasiums. Like anybody that wants this presentation, we are happy to give it to them because we think it's important. Last year, we partnered with the Idaho School Resource Officers Association. Being a former school resource officer, I felt like the way in is through our SROs. We have great SROs in our schools. I was a former SRO at Century High School, and that's where this prevention and education starts. So we partnered with our SROs and taught our SROs like how to do a thing. You'll see one of these pictures. That's Chris Hansen with the Catch a Predator that spoke at the event. Chris came out and talked to our SROs about the things that he's doing. The lady here in the middle, her name is Alicia Kozak. She is the reason what is now known as Alicia's Law. Very compelling story if you get a chance. She came out and spoke to our team. What else? And then the mental health stuff. It is not lost on us that our investigators and our analysts, we've got to keep our own people safe and protected. This work can be very difficult. We mandate that all of our investigators that come into ICAC see a mental health expert at least twice a year. They don't have a choice. They have to go talk to them. They see content. They see things that should not be seen. And so we mandate that they go and do that. And we've had zero kickback on that. Our investigators welcome it. I myself even go twice a year. I talk to our doctor, and we talk about things. They can go more than that if they'd like, but it's required that they go twice a year. And then we do trainings together in a group setting, and we change the topic, whether it's suicide awareness or financial readiness or spiritual well-being or whatever it is. This particular picture, the guy right in the middle, that is Colonel Morris. He just retired on Sunday as the state chaplain for the Idaho Army National Guard. He came out, did a presentation and some training with our ICAC unit. Fantastic work that he does. And so we do this all the time through the state. Lots of recognition. You may notice some of the people right in the middle. That's Chief Johnson, the Idaho Falls Chief of Police, with Jared, and that's Artis and the AG. And we recognized Corey Payne, the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office affiliate, and Jared Mendenhall. Between the two of them, last year, right at the end of the year, they made their 100th ICAC arrest. That is wild. That's a lot of arrests between two investigators. And so we recognized them, came out and did a thing. And then we also have Christian Teagues on the far right with Sheriff Ball from Madison County, Amy and Isley with the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, Molly, Kootenai County Prosecutor. Anyway, we try to recognize those that are super engaged in this work because it's important. Lots of numbers. We do a lot of presentations, estimated attendance. Again, these are the things we're doing. I actually on my way over here tonight, I actually talked to Corey Payne with Bonneville County Sheriff's Office, and he said, hey, you're going to be at the Shiloh Inn. I was like, yeah, you coming over? You can walk over. You could teach this class. And he goes, we're actually doing the same thing in St. Anthony. So they're actually up there. Him and Jared are doing this very thing there as well. So that's why the message is getting out. We think it's important. I'm going to skip past that one. We're going to go to this one. If you have a phone and you want to scan this is how you can follow Badger online. And I'll show this again, but at the end I'll put this back up if you want. But this QR code, you can connect to all the socials, and the kids do this. It's wild. They'll follow us, and then we're giving out internet safety tips, like how to be safe online, how to report. And so we ask them to follow us. We think that's the fastest way to get this word out and keep our kids safe. I'll come back to this. I promise I'll show this QR code again. I'm going to skip past this one. This is just an update that we do regularly. Okay, I'm going to show this video. This is a video. It's 4 minutes long. This is a story about a sextortion. They're going to talk about what sextortion is and understand that although this didn't happen here in Idaho, this is happening in Idaho all the time. And so I've kind of alluded to it. If you can hit play on that, and we will watch this. I think there's audio, and this is a very compelling. Yeah, it's going.
Spirited, adventurous, and accepting. Just some of the words friends and family members used when they were asked to describe Levi Macheski.
But if you're going to ask his mama, I would say that he was strong and confident, sassy, very sassy, extremely loving, caring, generous.
Tricia Macheski says the son she adored was taken way too soon. The son of the head football coach at Shippensburg University played football and baseball and had a lot of aspirations.
Levi had the world at his fingertips.
The 13-year-old's world collapsed in August of 2024 when he died of a gunshot wound in the backyard of his family's home in Shippensburg while home alone. The Cumberland County coroner later ruled his death a homicide, the result of sextortion. Sextortion. It's generally when an online predator tricks someone into giving them nude images or videos and then demands money, more images, or other things, and threatens to share the videos and images with the person's friends and family if they don't comply. The Macheskis only found out about it from law enforcement.
I looked at them and I said, I don't understand. What is that? I didn't know there were predators lurking in every nook and cranny, in every corner of the internet, preying on teenage boys.
The family has since learned a lot about the sinister side of sextortion. Tricia says Levi was connecting with friends on social media, but a person he encountered was anything but a friend. And in a short time, he was a victim of blackmail.
Levi didn't do anything. They assaulted, traumatized, threatened him. It was trauma. An adult brain couldn't handle what he was given at age 13.
Cumberland County District Attorney Sean McCormack wouldn't go into details of the case, which is under court seal, but he says there is still an active state police investigation.
If we thought it was futile, that we would never be able to find anything, we certainly probably wouldn't still have an active investigation.
Thank you for accepting and reciprocating the love of a lifetime.
Tricia now talks to Levi in her journal.
That was a week ago.
And she urges other parents to open the lines of communication with their children.
We have to be prepared to tell them the evil that's in the world. I mean, you and I both see toddlers holding phones and 7-year-olds on YouTube.
Tears flow easily to this grieving mother, a role she never could have imagined.
Tears are just grief. It's grief is like love with nowhere to go. So I always just say, oh, that's just the love coming out of my eyes. I miss him. Every minute.
But this woman of faith is confident she will again see Levi.
I know how the story ends. I get to be in heaven with my boy.
Until that time comes, Tricia is just trying to take it one step at a time and live like Levi.
Levi was unapologetically who he was. He could have a conversation with anyone. He could meet them right where they were, make them feel heard and loved. He was incredible.
Susan Shapiro, WGAL, News 8.
So, sextortion, I'll put it in its simplest form. Hopefully everybody kind of understood what happened here. But really what it is blackmail. And the target is typically our 15, 16, 17-year-old boys. That's who the target of this stuff is. So what happens a lot of times, I'll give an example of what could happen. They get a friend request from somebody they find attractive. Through course of conversations, they've accepted that friend request and they are convinced or maybe send an image, or that person has now access to their images and generates an image and then turns around and blackmails them for the image. You're going to send me a gift card. You're going to send me Cash App, something. You're going to send me something, or in exchange, I'm going to distribute these photos, these inappropriate images, to your parents, to your coaches, to your school, to your principal, to your clergy members, your bishops, or whoever, and you're going to comply. And if they don't comply, then the tactic shifts. Well, then you're just dead. You might as well kill yourself anyway. And they encourage some sort of suicidal ideation going on. So sadly, some of these kids do that. That's what happened in the Ryan Last case. Ultimately committed suicide. These are difficult because oftentimes the suspects aren't in the United States. They're in the Ivory Coast. They're somewhere else overseas. And so they become logistically difficult to investigate. So we've implemented a practice in our office. If we get a case of sextortion that comes through, and last week we got 6 that came through in the state of Idaho, where we believe that a child was sextorted, we immediately call a parent, an SRO, or a dispatcher, wherever they're at, in whatever part of the state, and say we need a welfare check on the child right away. We need somebody that can go contact the child right away. And a lot of times the parents have no idea that this is going on. More often than not, they're shocked. And the kid is shocked that we know about it, right? That also is a lot of fun to do. But it's highly important, right? That's how we're keeping kids safe online. That's how we can help them because it's very underreported. Most teenage boys that are 15 to 17 years old, how many want to report something like that? They just don't. They're not going to report it. And so finding it is out there. It's here in Idaho. It's happening. Like I said, last week we had 6 of those cases come through. Mental health, we talked about this already, what we're doing to keep our people safe, our own team. I love this picture because, yes, that is a horse. That is a therapy horse. And, yes, it has booties on. And, yes, that was in the conference room of the Attorney General's office. I was actually not working. I was actually gone at a training in Alabama. And I got this text message and somebody said, why is there a horse in the AG's office? And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, did you misspell something? Like, I don't know what that means. And they're like, no, there's a horse in the conference room of the Attorney General's office. And I was like, you're going to have to give me more than that. And then they sent me this picture. That's a miniature therapy horse. But anyway, so I show this too because a lot of schools are now taking this kind of thing and doing a thing, and they're bringing therapy dogs in and different animals. And anyway, it's a lot of fun. I was amazed that we had a horse in our office. It was great. Community outreach, again, I already talked about this, but presentations, podcasts, the AG's trying to get I've gone on podcasts with the Attorney General about ICAC because to him, this is near and dear. This is no kidding, keeping kids safe. And I think he's demonstrated that, and I think we're doing some great work. Badger, we talked about Badger a little bit. He is an electronic storage detection canine. So the dog itself is actually considered dual purpose. The dog is a therapy dog, but it also does detect electronic storage devices. So it'll find thumb drives, it'll find hidden cameras, it'll find cell phones, computers, tablets, anything with a hard drive, it will find it. A lot of times what we're finding in these cases is suspects will put stuff on a little tiny thumb drive and hide it somewhere, and the normal investigator that's searching can't find it. The dog will find it almost every time. The dog is smelling some sort of component that they spray onto the motherboard to keep it cool. That's what the dog's smelling. And they are fantastic. There are now 4 ESD canines in the state of Idaho. One is Artis with Idaho Falls Police Department, Jared Mendenhall. There's one in Rupert. That dog's name is Newton. Badger's in Boise. And then Post Falls Police Department just got a yellow lab to do the same thing up north. And I can't remember that dog. That dog's name is Uno. It just came to me. Uno is the dog's name. A lot of people ask, like, what's the dog's name? It's like, the other thing we do with this dog is this handler will go into any school. And the dog's awesome because it's a therapy dog. It's a lab. Most labs are crazy. I've had labs. I've had bird labs that are wild, and that's why you get labs. This dog's so not a lab, but it does great things. And we've deployed this dog. We got this dog almost a year ago, and this dog has been on probably I'm guessing probably 40 to 50 search warrants at this point, and found devices that were missed by investigators. So it's a great thing in Idaho. Great dog. Okay, this is some of the outreach and resources that are available. Our website, I would tell everybody, that's the one-stop shop. If you need something from ICAC, you want to report something to ICAC, you believe somebody's being sextorted online, this is where you can go. You want a presentation like this, go to the website, fill it out. We'll come out and do it. We're not going to charge you to do it. It's all free. You want swag in your school, we'll bring it to you. You want internet safety packages, we'll bring them to you. Classroom kits, we'll bring them to you. We really want to be that resource that we're educating the kids and parents on what's out there and online. What else here? Let's see. we're constantly updating stuff like this. Feel free, if you want, you can take a picture of this. We post this stuff all the time. It's also on the website. But we will post stuff like this on our social media sites. But this is 15 apps that every parent should know about, and then why, right? And this changes all the time. I get a lot of questions like, well, what about this app or what about that app? They change all the time, but we try to keep these up to date. We also have one that is 10 Vault apps that every parent should know about. A Vault app is an app that looks like something, maybe a calculator, but in fact, it's a place where they're hiding images or content that they don't want people to see. There's also one out there that we call 15 or 10 dating apps that every parent should know about. Again, they change all the time. I couldn't tell you which one's the best, which one's the worst. There's just things that you should be aware of and educate yourself on some of these things. And ask the questions, like if you have kids or grandkids, ask them what apps they're on. It's important to know those. So these are some of them that I would highly recommend that everybody that you know about. Let's see. Again, these are also on our website. Lots of resources like how do I keep kids safe and what's the most popular social media platform. This changes all the time. We talked about this already. Right now it's YouTube, 83%. In Instagram at 70%. This is nationally. This is a national statistic. Who's using social media, what ages. I think this is pretty interesting. Down here, you might not be able to read it in the back. I'm going to read it today. It says, social media use among 13 to 18-year-olds, 84% use social media. And on the bottom, it says 95% of teens in the U.S. have access to a smartphone. 45% report being online almost constantly, spending an average of 9 hours a day online. That's wild. And no one here is shocked, though. I mean, you might be. You might be shocked, but then you're like, hey, you walk outside or walk into school, you're like, yeah, I'm not shocked by that. And this one's crazy. Down here, this smartphone ownership among youth, 43% are between the ages of 8 and 12. The kids are online, right? When I was young, it was like stranger danger. Don't talk to the guy in the van, right? Like that's what people said to me. And don't take candy from the guy in the van. It's not in the van. It's online, and they're in your house already. They're already there. They're already chatting. They already have access to them, unless you control access, but it's that easy. It's very, very quick. Other things, I won't read all of these, but there's a lot of, like I guess, and the title is maybe the most important part of here. It says, start the conversation. Ask your kids, ask your grandkids, what are they doing online? Educate them. Talk about the dangers of being online. There's a lot of great things online. I don't want this to be a doom and gloom, because social media has done some great things for us. And so that's not, but they're understanding the bad things that could happen. We get this question a lot. There are resources. Sometimes a child may have something out there online that they don't want online anymore. They made a mistake. It got out there. NCMEC, the National Center for Missing Exploited Children, has a website called takeitdown.org. They can go on. You have to be a juvenile. Or a parent. The photos of the content online have to be of a juvenile, and you can go on and have it taken down. It doesn't have to just be exploited content. It can be things that are out there in the ethers, and then the National Center for Missing Exploited Children will continue to screen and pull it off the internet as it comes up. Does that make sense? So it's a free resource. It's a great resource. You'll get content that's out there. Maybe a teenager had an image that was put out online by an ex-boyfriend, and they want it pulled back down. This is where we direct them to. Takeitdown.org is a great place for this. I often get the question, will they do that for adults? If there's adult content out there and they want taken down, the answer is no, they won't. It is strictly for children. Sextortion, kind of the what to do if you have a child or you know someone that has been sextorted. We have these flyers. We post them in schools. We'll post them wherever anybody will put them. Lobby of a police department. We share them on social media. What to do if you are sextorted or you know someone that is. There's kind of a step-by-step, stop responding, take screenshots. Certainly don't send them any money. Stop responding to the demands. We actually tell them, don't delete your account. Hold on to your account, but block them, and then report it. And we might be able to do something with it. Helping remove sexually explicit content. I already talked about this one a little bit. This is the takeitdown.org. Some of the content that's the website that you can get onto, and it's actually pretty user-friendly. You can jump on, grab your stuff, or tell them what's out there, and they will screen it, and they continue to pull stuff down all the time. Okay, this is the socials again. This is the I'll put this back up again at the very, very end. I only have like one more slide, I think, and then I'll take any questions. But we'll put this back up in a second. This is, I share this because, again, I said this begins, this is not my task force. I have the privilege of kind of supervising the ICAC unit, but the Attorney General says it best. People say this all the time, like, what's the best thing I could do? And I didn't say this. This is what he said, and I actually think it's pretty good. And basically, he says, be a well-informed parent. Be engaged in your kids' lives. Know what they're doing online, and we'll do all the things that we can possibly do with the resources that we have to enforce this stuff, to enforce and combat exploitation of kids online. But certainly, we would also encourage everybody to be a well-informed parent. This is kind of the end of that video that I started at the beginning. We've made a lot of arrests. These are all Idaho guys that we arrested, and like I said, jump on that. It's a pretty great little clip. That is the team. That is our contact information. Websites up there, phone numbers up there. You can take pictures of that. With that, that is the end of the presentation. I will take any questions that you have. And I don't know if I actually answered your question fully. Your question at the beginning was, I'll go back to it, and if I don't get it right, well, I'll let you ask it again.
I just said that because
yeah. Yep. Yeah, great question. I liked these because these are complicated and they take time. I will tell you that our investigators, those arrests, that 135, I can't speak to all of them. We get them every time. Like, they're getting it right, if that makes sense. We're making sure that we're not actually, the accident or correct.
Somebody who does it 500 times.
Yeah. Our investigators are absolutely very proficient at what they do. These very seldom, I don't know if we've actually, if I'm being totally honest, we don't see a lot of dismissals on these cases. We just don't. We don't go to trial on them very often. The investigations are completely solid. They do a great job. And so I think they ferret through those things, right? They're figuring out what it is, and they're applying a no-kidding, fact-finding investigation before we charge people, and that's the goal, right? We want good, clean charges because that's the gold standard. That's what we have to do. Other questions? A couple questions.
Are there? You showed a lot of individuals that on the one slide. Are there organized groups that are doing this?
Great question. There are. We've seen, we get these kind of alerts that we've had some organized groups that are kind of coming together, and a lot of that is, there are. To answer your question, there are. We've worked a few of those types of cases where people are sharing content between individuals, so we might call that a group, or, but there are. To answer your question, there are. There are cases where there are groups that are doing this together. Yeah.
One more.
Yeah.
Is there a breakdown of legal citizens doing this versus illegal immigrants doing this?
Good question. I'm sure we could pull that. I don't know off the top of my head. I wish I could. I wish I could tell you that. I don't know off the top of my head. I could get that stat for you. I could figure that one out. I'm sure it's across. I have found that it is across all walks of life. I have found that. I think sadly, this is sad, the only common denominator that I have found since I've been the ICAC commander in my training and experience in the last 2 years is it's almost primarily men. Almost always. I don't know if it's always men. There was a question here and then one in the back. Oh.
One where?
Oh.
Ignorance on my part, I'm sure, but the sextortion, how does a child get involved in that, and how do they get them? I don't understand.
Yeah, so how do people find the kid online? Oftentimes, we've seen it in lots of different platforms. So, video games is a big one. Kids are playing video games online, like Roblox, for example. you can chat with just about anybody on these different platforms. And so they'll jump online, they may start chatting, and all of a sudden they're chatting with what is an adult. Now Roblox has put in a few, safeguards, and I use air quotes for that. But as do most of these companies are saying there's safeguards in place, but they can get on most of these platforms where there are adults and children alike on the same platform and start chatting. They could probably, depends on what platform they're on. They all operate a little bit differently. And a lot of times what we'll find is they'll start chatting on a particular platform and they'll move off of that platform onto something else, right? They start chatting, hey, why don't you just hit me up on Discord or Google, let's chat, let's actually text, and they'll jump off of that platform. That happens as well.
With those networks and their reporting, is there a percentage, say, of manual reporting versus automated reporting?
I don't know that answer at the national level. I think there is. I'm sure there is. But I don't know off the top of my head how those reports are actually going in. Now, I will tell you that we get people all the time that will file their own report, like manually. They'll either call the local police department and say, I think something's happened online here, and we'll go those kind versus the one that's come automatic, the cyber tips that come in from the National Center. But we do have people that manually or call in to a dispatch center to report, self-report, or know of a friend that needs help, and we'll report it to either the ICAC or a local jurisdiction. And to that end, I would tell you that if you know somebody that has been sextorted or, is in possession or maybe manufactured, distributing any kind of child sexual abuse material, and they go to a police department and the department, you don't get, most of our departments around here know what to do. They have the resources, and if they don't, you can please reach out to us. But yeah. Other questions?
So I've seen other states, primarily Utah, where law enforcement has also been caught being involved in this same thing. What is happening here in Idaho to maybe go after law enforcement that may be involved?
Great question. Like I said before, sadly, this affects all walks of life. We have seen everything. We've investigated our own, sadly, and so I can't think in Idaho where we've had one where we've criminally charged. I can't even think one, but it does, and we take all of them. Sadly, it is one of the things I say sadly because it's a stain on any profession, right? This kind of stuff, and so. But we look at them no different than anyone else. If we get a cyber tip for a police officer or anybody, a teacher, a judge, whoever, any kind of report, we take them serious. Yeah.
First off, I appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you so much for doing this. I can see that AI might be helpful in some ways, but how I could also see AI being causing a lot more issues. What are your feelings about AI and how it might change things?
We totally skipped over that. I promise you we talk about AI. So we'll come back to it. Yes, AI. So last year, went into effect July of last year, Idaho passed one of the first states to pass an AI bill where it doesn't matter if the content is what we call maybe real content or if it's AI generated or computer generated. If it's child sexual abuse material, it's the same. It's a felony. For every image, for every video, it is still considered a felony in the state of Idaho. And so for us, and we see a lot of AI generated stuff. We also see computer generated stuff. They're making it or they're modifying it or adapting it or changing it. It is still, we treat it the same. We've charged those cases in Idaho. And so AI in that regard has been, the law that we've put into place has been very helpful. We're grateful to our legislators for doing that. We've used that law. We've charged people under that law. It's changing the battleground, I guess, for lack of a better term. Now, we are using AI also, trying to figure out how AI can help us be better and more efficient at what we do, right? So AI is actually helping in a number of other areas in our work. But AI is definitely a thing, and it is here, and we are seeing it. I hope that we can at some point use AI to screen, right? Like I have these two ladies, that's all they do. And if I can save their mental health and have AI do it for me, at some point, that will be great.
In the aspects that AI is being used on either side of that, whether that creation or that use of kind of screening stuff, how is that AI being vetted?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're not using it a ton yet for that screening, for the triaging process. On the other side, when they're doing that, we're not necessarily vetting it. We just, we can confirm whether or not it's AI generated or not. To us at this point, it doesn't matter for our investigative side of it. But on the other part, that is the challenge. Like I alluded to earlier, bringing an AI company in to learn is a challenge in and of itself, right? So we've got to get through that and figure that core, how we're going to do that. So if you got ideas, I'd totally love to hear it. Other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
Is there, in Idaho itself, is there certain areas that I guess I'd use the word is attacked more, like it is it more prevalent in East Idaho or Boise, Idaho Falls, or Coeur d'Alene? Are there pockets of where this is occurring, obviously? So
yeah, great question. The answer is, so I'm also going to answer a question about, like, I get a question a lot about sentencing. What are the judges sentencing these guys to? That changes across the state. But as far as where this is happening, it's where we're, like, for the most part, where it's heavily populated, where there's more people, right? Ada County is the highest reporter. I think like 27% of what we get goes into the Ada County and Canyon County area. Bonneville County is a high contributor. Bannock County, Kootenai County up in north. Everywhere else is kind of a little bit. Like, we've worked cases in Custer County. We've worked cases in Salmon. We've worked cases, in Bear Lake. But the vast majority of what we get comes into our bigger counties of the 44. Now, as far as sentencing, I get this question: what are these guys getting? And that totally depends on where. What we've seen is, like, it's kind of what people get sentenced to in East Idaho may not look the same as North Idaho, and it may not look the same as Ada County. It's kind of across the board, and so every judge has those discretions, but it's kind of interesting. But we're seeing anywhere from, we're seeing some pretty good sentences on stuff like this. We've seen 15-year sentences, a lot of 5 years fixed with 7 to 10 years indeterminate. We're seeing some of those as well. So good sentences, and it depends on all of those factors. How much did they have? What was it? Possession, manufacturing, distributing? What was it? So,
do those individuals then get on the sex predator,
the sex offender
list that stays with them?
Usually, yes. Yeah, usually they do. Another question in the back.
Okay, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
So, you said Ada County, Boise area, would be number one. Okay, and I'm putting words in your mouth. Well, just out of interest, what would Bonneville County be? Is it like 3 or 2 or, and my question really is how prevalent is it really happening here at home? Which a lot of people will say, well, that happens there, but not here.
I would say that Idaho Falls, Bonneville County area, you have great detectives and they're very busy.
You have what again?
Great detectives and they're extremely busy. There's quite a bit here.
So that means that we have quite a bit going on. There's another quick question.
At least in Idaho, do we see more of a connection to potential larger organized crime in relation to this, or is it more individual isolated cases?
More individual, definitely. Yeah.
You say that Ada County has the greatest number, but you also have an opening there. You don't have anybody there right now.
Correct.
How long has it been open?
That particular Ada County position has been open for some time. So we have, the thing with Ada County is our office is actually based in Boise, right? It's in Ada County, and we have 3 full-time ICAC investigators in the AG's office that help cover down on that for a while. Ada County is actually standing up. They have a person identified right now. They're actually going to put 4 investigators investigators onto the ICAC Task Force. They're going to fund 3 of them, and then we'll fund 1 of them. But yeah, we've got great relations with Ada County. We're able to help cover down on that because right now we've got investigators in our own office that cover Ada County as well.
Because a lot of us supported an organization where the man fell badly, who was involved in trying to supposedly stop the human trafficking of children. And so I'm greatly relieved to hear that you have mental health checkups for all your people, because this is such an evil thing that's happening to our children that we need anything we can to support the people and help them stay healthy.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I agree.
You mentioned with regard to sextortion that a lot of them are from outside the nation. What do you do if because my assumption is it's just going to get more and more with some of those. And so do you turn it over to what, FBI or something, and continue to?
Yep. So yes, to answer your question, we do. This last, 2 weeks ago, I was in Santa Fe, like I mentioned, and there are partners with ICACs that are international partners. And so there's a company called Lantern out there that actually helps our national ICACs work with outside ICAC units and ICAC task forces outside of the United States. And so they're helping, because a lot of times the victims of the content aren't in the United States. Sometimes they are, but they're both outside and inside. And so this stuff doesn't have a boundary. It doesn't have a border. It goes across everywhere. And so we do have great partners internationally with our international partners where they can work cases for us. They help us work those cases to rescue people. You bet. Rescue kids. Great questions. Other questions?
Well, no other questions.
No victim advocates? No question for my advocates or my domestic? No, nothing? I knew it. I knew you'd have a question.
She has a comment.
Oh, good. I like comments better. They don't have to say anything.
I do have a question, because I know that the AG's office has also now created a human trafficking task force.
Yes. Yeah. I can speak a little bit on the human trafficking stuff. We have a DAG, a Deputy Attorney General, in there that we have full-time working and kind of assessing the human trafficking part of that. That is still pretty new, kind of coming through. Right now, we don't have a full-time human trafficking task force. I will tell you this, that I believe that human trafficking also, this is very closely related, right? These are one and the same. ICAC, human trafficking, these are very closely linked together. And so, these efforts as we move through these things, I think these are still great things to kind of lean forward in. But the human trafficking thing is still kind of up and coming. Local jurisdictions still have all the ability to work human trafficking cases. We just, in my experience, we're not seeing the human trafficking to the extent that we're seeing ICAC. ICAC is, no kidding, a real problem. In Idaho, I would say that it's far exceeds the human trafficking problem.
Yes.
Not even close.
And I agree with you on that. I honestly do, because in the numbers, like when they were talking about the number of cases that you will see here in Bonneville County and Idaho Falls, my guess is you are probably going to run really close to neck and neck with Ada County, because we see a lot of these cases being charged here locally.
Yeah.
But like in some of the services that you have available on the ICAC side, like removing pictures, you're going to see that on a human trafficking side.
Yes.
And so, identifying. So my hope is that what you have here, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, it's just trying to find those resources that are already available that will come in and do the same thing for victims, even outside of trafficking, because the sextortion piece, that happens to adults.
All the time.
Yes. And those images are out there, and they don't want them to be there. They didn't give permission for them to be there.
Yep.
And so, I just see a lot of blend like you see. And then my other thought process was, I find this interesting with sextortion, that it's a male population that is targeted. Is my guess correct in it is the fact that they are afraid to report and less likely to report in that age group?
1,000%. I think that's also it. I think there's also, not just the age group, but what they're finding, like Ryan Last, by all accounts, was a very, very sharp young man, had everything going from him, came from a supportive background, a supportive family. He was a valedictorian of his high school. He's engaged in lots of different activities like 4-H. I mean, this is a kid, by all accounts, you wouldn't be a red flag. And so it's much more difficult for that child to report. for whatever reason. And I don't, and so we have found, you've got the head football coach's son who's 15 that didn't report, didn't tell anybody. So I think that's the reason. I think there's something to that, I think. And I love what you said about this happens to adults as well. This is, my job is kids. Like, that's what we protect. But this happens to adults all the time. You click on the wrong thing, you end up all of a sudden you're sextorted for something. Like, so we can also help with that. The resources are the same. They are there. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, there's still stuff on that back table, and I'm not taking it. So,
well, let's give him let's give Nick a great big hand. And definitely thank him for coming all the way from Boise to see us today, and he's actually headed back tonight. So we'll get out of here a little early so he can get out. But I one of the takeaways that I'd have to have, and Nick, come out here a little bit, and so don't hide behind there. Is this? We don't want to believe that this is happening in Idaho, and that is part of my question. Earlier is where is it happening? I know people all around at Bonneville County. I hear it every day. Oh, that's over in Boise. That's somewhere else. But it's happening here, and ignoring it and don't wanting it to be true and whatnot, it's not going to make it go away. You have to realize it's here.
I'll add to that. I turned that one off. We wouldn't put 3 full-time police officers working ICAC in East Idaho if the problem wasn't here. Strategically, it makes no sense, right? We try to put the resources because we're limited on our resources. The Attorney General is very conservative. He's very aware of what he has and what he doesn't have. And we strategically place them where the problem is. We have to. That makes that, and strategically, that's what you do with your in any leadership capacity. You strategically place the needs, and the need is here. And the needs in, Coeur d'Alene and in Boise and Ada County and Idaho Falls and Bonneville. And so, yeah.
And it's real sad. The need is here, and we have to pay attention to that. And so Idaho's a great state. East Idaho's a great part of the state, but we are not immune to what's going on. And the lady that was back there talking about human trafficking and all that, that's another whole story and everything of adults. And we need to pay attention, and we need to understand, and we need to learn and how to defend ourselves against that. I would recommend, going to our Rumble channel, getting a link to this and passing it around. I think he did a great job. And, people need to be aware this is happening. And, we can't ignore it. And I'm going to ask you to do another thing. Go to our website and check it out. If you like to write an article, do something, I'm actually even going to talk to you next, see how I can start putting things on there that will update what you're doing and all that. I think it can only just help us all to do that, okay? So there's a lady back here, too, she keeps holding up a petition sign. She actually is trying to gather signatures for to repeal the grocery tax. And so if you agree with the repealing the grocery tax and all that and the initiative that they're trying to get set up there, please see her and sign the petition if you already haven't. So, and with that, next week's going to be interesting because, like I say, the political season has started. And I guess they call it let the games begin. And next week we're going to have Mark Fitzpatrick come, and he's running for governor, and definitely a different, probably a different breed of person than Governor Little is, but that's okay. Okay, and we're going to get people to come. I know there are other candidates that are running for governor, and there are a variety of other legislators. We're going to get them here, and actually, I'm just going to throw it out here. Sean Crystal in the back here has also thrown his hat in the ring for governor, and we'll have him come and talk to us and tell us why he's wonderful in a few weeks. So anyway, pay attention to us. Check us out online. Help us make an impact. Help us do what we need to do to protect our kids and stand up for Idaho. Thank you all. See you next week. Take care. And give Nick a great big hand. And Nick, take all the junk away so that he doesn't have to haul it back. Thank you so much.